Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today, I am looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and determining whether or not they are a top 5 defense in the NFL. But before getting into that topic, question for those of you viewing, another fight is on the table. Who do you have winning? The emerging linebacker Devin White on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the already proven linebacker on the San Francisco 49ers, Fred Warner? Who's going to win that fight? Devin White versus Fred Warner. Comment down below and I will reveal my answer at the end. But getting into this topic, the NFL is stacked with defensive teams this year. I think there's like 10 teams that can arguably be said to be a top 5 defense. Just going through a list, a couple of them. Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense led them to 11-0 last year. TJ Watt kind of got gypped from Defensive Player of the Year. They have Devin Bush. They got Mika Fitzpatrick, one of the top safeties in the league. You got Joe Hayden, a pretty good corner. A couple pieces did leave, such as Steven Nelson and Bud Dupree, but overall the foundation is there on that Steelers defense. Of course, Cameron Hayward as well to help out the pass rush. Moving on to the LA Rams, when you got Aaron Donald, who's the best defensive tackle in the league, best pass rusher in the league, arguably, you can make that argument for sure. Him or TJ Watt or Joey Bosa. Either way, Aaron Donald is the best defensive tackle in the league for sure. And then Jalen Ramsey is probably the number 1, if at worst, top 3 corner in the league. So having those guys be the best at their position, plus Leonard Floyd, that team is, of course, always going to be one of the top defenses. The same thing as the Steelers. They had a couple losses. They lost their top safety in John Johnson. They lost their slot corner, Troy Hill, and they lost their defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley. However, they did have some rookies this past year that were pretty good, and they will probably be better heading into their sophomore year. But overall, those couple of losses will hurt them. Still got the Colts, Darius Leonard, probably the captain of that team. DeForest Buckner. They might re-sign Justin Houston. I'm not sure about that one, but if he does come back, that is definitely going to help him out. In the secondary, you got Kenny Moore helping lead with Xavier Rhodes after they re-signed him. So the Colts, that's a well-known name. Like we said last year, they were top 5, arguably. This year, not much has changed except Justin Houston, but even then, he may be coming back. One that's kind of under the radar, in my opinion, well, there's a couple under the radar, but the Cleveland Browns, they weren't the greatest defense by any means last year, but just like the LA Rams, they had those top 2 guys. You had Myles Garrett leading the pass rush and Denzel Ward leading the secondary, but they were kind of on their own. However, in this offseason, they have added to that exponentially. What the Rams took as a loss from Troy Hill and John Johnson, the Browns have added where they have now John Johnson and Troy Hill. And that secondary is looking pretty good, along with Greedy Williams as well. And then in the pass rush, they helped out Myles Garrett with Malik Jackson, Takarius McKinley. You got Sheldon Richardson, and the draft is to come as well. This Browns team is going to be dangerous. Miami Dolphins, we know they're a top 5 defense, or they were getting close to it last year. They did lose Kyle Van Noy, but they still got Van Ginkel in there at the linebacker position. They did lose Devon Godshaw, but like I said, they have 2 first-round picks as well. Maybe they might replace him there. You might get a Gregory Rose, a Jalen Phillips, or a Kwity Paye. That won't replace Devon Godshaw immediately because he was a nose tackle, and those guys are more defensive ends that get after the quarterback, but it's still a pass rusher that will help out that D-line. And then the secondary, you got Xavier Howard, who led the league in interceptions, Bobby McCain, Byron Jones. That Dolphins team is well coached as well, Brian Flores, and just a well roster all around. I guess I should finally talk about the Buccaneers. Looking at the Buccaneers, though, they hold their own with any other defense in this NFL. They re-signed everyone that they needed, really. The big ones, Shaq Barrett, Lavonte, David, and Ndamukong Suh, those guys are back, but they're not alone. Devin White and Lavonte David might be the best linebacker duo in the NFL, arguably. Looking at a defensive line, you got Shaq Barrett, you got Vita Vea, you got Ndamukong Suh, you have JPP, you got William Golston, and the secondary is held down as well. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jordan Whitehead, and Antoine Winfield Jr. in the Buccaneers. I wouldn't be surprised if they use their first-round pick on another corner to help out that secondary this year. So the Bucs, they hold their own with those other teams, but the league still is to go with more teams. I think the Patriots did a good job adding players this year. They got Matt Judon, they got Devon Godshaw. They'll have a healthy Stephon Gilmore, who was arguably the best corner in 2019 when he won the Defensive Player of the Year, and they're well coached, like we know, in Bill Belichick. Washington, they have probably the best defensive line in the NFL, them or the Bucs in my opinion, but with Chase Young being as good as he was as a rookie, he might be the best defensive pass rusher next year in his sophomore year. We've seen guys take jumps like that, so who knows? A lot of it will determine Chase Young with the secondaries held down. You got Landon Collins, you re-signed, or you didn't re-sign, but you signed William Jackson. Niners, once they're healthy, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. Broncos, they have a really good secondary. You got Callahan, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. Who else have they got? Ronald Darby. and Kyle Fuller. I mean, that secondary is locked down with 5 arguable starters when that's just a stacked defense. The Giants added Dory Jackson. I'm rambling here, but there's so many good defenses in the NFL. So while some people might think right off the top of their head, yeah, the Bucs definitely are locked for top 5 defense, the rest of the league is stacked as well. There's a big free agent moves this offseason, and the draft is still yet to come. But right now, I have to say the Bucs are in the top 5. Just to see what they did to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year, they made it seem like they were the number 1 defense in the NFL. They just shut down. I don't know if statistically the Kansas City Chiefs were the number 1 offense. I don't know off the top of my head if they were number 1 statistically, but we know the Chiefs were one of the most dangerous offenses in the NFL. But the Buccaneers said, no more, not today. We are shutting you down. They did not even let them get a touchdown. The final score was, 31-9. Buccaneers locked down today, and that was their first year really getting all together and clicking. Yeah, a lot of those guys are veterans, and they've already been with the team a year or two. Some were rookies, though. So overall, I think heading into this year, playing together all over again, having that chemistry together, having that win under the belt, I think they're only going to be better than they were last year. In the beginning of the season, they struggled, but the entire team struggled in the beginning of the year, offense and defense, because it was new. There's no practices, no OTAs, new system, new go of the quarterback, new expectations. It was weird. I don't want to say it was weird last year. It was just a new environment for the entire Bucs team to get used to. But overall, this Bucs team, like I said, between arguably the best linebacker duo, they might have the best pass rush. I like Washington a lot, but you can make the argument that the Bucs do. When Shaq Barrett is getting double teamed, that opens it up a lot for JPP, and say they both get double teamed. Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea aren't known for sack leaders, but if you give them one-on-one matchups, I can guarantee they're going to rack some numbers up. So overall, I just think this Bucs team is definitely a top 5 defense. I would not say their secondary is on par with, the Jalen Ramsey secondary or the Washington football team with William Jackson and Landon Collins and Kendall Fuller, or the Denver Broncos with Callahan and Kareem Jackson, Ronald Darby, Justin Simmons, and Kyle Fuller. But they are getting there. They can hold their own. That is 100%. Antoine Winfield Jr., top rookie safety probably. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting can hold their own in the secondary at the corner position, and Jordan Whitehead is a good safety in himself. And like I said, number 32 overall this year, the Bucs won't get the top corner, but they'll probably get the 5th or 4th best corner in the NFL draft if that's the route they're going. Who knows? They might get a pass rusher to make this officially the best defensive line in the NFL. If you get maybe if a Jalen Phillips or Gregory Rose or a Kwity Paye falls in their lap, I doubt any of those 3 fall all the way to 32, but guys fall in the draft. Who knows? This Bucs defense, it has to be top 5 in my opinion. Lavonte David's the most athletic linebacker, arguably. Devin White is becoming just as good as Lavonte David, and the dude's only 22 years old. Overall, there might be some better defenses out there, but I just think the Bucs, they have to make the top 5. I think they can knock off a Colts team that has, an old Xavier Rhodes kind of being their number 1 corner, a Colts team that lost to Justin Houston, or maybe I like the Rams, and I do think they're a top 5 defense, but arguably I do think the Bucs may be better than because of them losing their top safety in John Johnson, them losing their top slot corner in Troy Hill, and losing their defensive coordinator. That is one thing that the Bucs have on edge on a couple people, is that the Bucs still have their defensive coordinator in Todd Bowles. He was a magic to that Bucs defense in the Super Bowl. Yes, the players put everything they got into winning that game, but Todd Bowles was the mastermind in creating the plan on how to do it, and players executed it, but Todd Bowles planned it, and therefore I just think that is an edge that no one really talks about as well. When teams lose their coordinators, you see them go down fast. When the Atlanta Falcons went to the Super Bowl to play the Patriots, Kyle Shanahan, their offensive coordinator, left, and the very next year, the Falcons have never been the same since. Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl, and their offensive coordinator, Frank Wright, left, and they haven't been the same since. And I know that's an offensive perspective, and I'm focusing on defense, but it just goes to show losing the coordinator and the coach of your side of the football is important to the team, and the Rams losing Staley will be a big factor. And I think Sean McVay is a great coach and can definitely hold his own on the defensive side of the football. And I still think the Rams are a top 5 defense, but I do think the Bucs might have edged them out. And like I said, I like the Browns, but they will be a new team relatively on defense, a lot of new guys. So I'm going to take the Bucs chemistry that they have over what the Browns can have, just because we don't know what that will be. Washington and the Giants, same thing. They're just really young. Broncos, I think their secondary set, and even their pass rush is damn good with the healthy Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. But overall, I'm not trying to rank it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just a matter of whether or not the Bucs make it in that top 5. Not what number they are in the top 5, because everyone has their own opinion. No one's going to have the same exact rankings of the top 5 defense. But to me, the Buccaneers are definitely a lock. Just to see what they did to Patrick Mahomes and how they got that amount of pressure on him and that amount of sacks. He didn't get sacked officially a whole lot, but the amount of pressures and QB hits he got while only rushing 4 for most of the game is insane. A lot of teams, when they face the Chiefs, they could get pressure on Mahomes, but they have to blitz 5 or 6 in the box, and that forces in the secondary for Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce to have a one-on-one matchup that they're going to win 99% of the time. The Bucs, though, they don't have to rush 5 or 6 to create a blitz type effect. They could get that type of pressure with just 4, so that way in the secondary and in zone coverage, they can still double team, and that way Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce is in a way shut down. Overall, this Bucs team, with the amount of chemistry they have got together, the amount of wins they've got together, they're only going to get better, and I believe in the NFL draft, they're going to add more. And like I said in several other videos, in order to have a good defense, you also need to have a good offense that controls the pace of the game, that's not constantly getting beaten down and putting the defense on the field 40 minutes of the game. You need an offense to control the pace of the game and win, which helps out the defense give up less yards because there's not as much time. They're not on defense for as much time. So overall, Bucs definitely top 5. A couple teams I'd probably officially throw in there. I definitely think the Rams got to be a top 5 defense. I think the Broncos and Patriots are 2 wildcard teams that can make that jump. But as of right now, without seeing them play all together just yet, I'm not going to give it to them just yet. I think Washington, I would have to give them there. I think a healthy 49ers will get in there. Browns and Dolphins at the toss-up. Colts, I'm not sure. But overall, Bucs are definitely in my top 5 defense. But comment down below who you think is in your top 5 defense in the NFL, and do the Buccaneers make that cut? And for the fight of the video between Fred Warner and Devin White, being a Bucs fan, I can't count out my boy Devin White. I'm going to go with him to win that fight against Fred Warner. Thanks for watching, guys. 2-1.